we will recap. Last time, we have started with the Vedic corpus. Vedic corpus consists of the 4 Vedas, the fourfold division, the 6 Vedangas, 5 Mahayajnas, and features of Vedic life, which we will be dealing in the coming sessions. I also took an example of Shri R.L. Kashyap, who was an emeritus professor from Purdue University, and he graduated from Harvard, and he also directed 40 PhD students. He's a fellow of IEEE. He also found a Ho-Kashyap rule, which is an important rule in the pattern recognition. This person has commented and translated all of the Vedic corpus into English, for which we should be ever grateful. And India has awarded him with Padma Shri, one of the highest awards that a country offers to its citizens. Some of the books that he has authored. No, all okay? The slide transitions and all? One last
Yes,
time
sir.
I'll be asking. Okay, thank you. Going forward, so whoever joins, please keep your mics muted. Going forward, we have understood what the word Veda means. Veda is the post-assimilated state of knowledge. And I also told that Veda has no proper noun, therefore you cannot take the names like Indra, Varuna, Vayu, etc. to be names of personalities or persons. They are names of principles or the cosmic features that the seers are trying to explain to us. Veda is said to be apaurusheya or impersonal because the knowledge is revealed to them rather than they creating the knowledge. But the Vedic texts are, of course, authored by someone, but that is not the Veda itself. Like a math textbook is not math itself, but is only representative of the subject math inside it. Then we have found out that there are 2 approaches to any wisdom branch in the Vedic terminology. One is called Karma Kanda and the Gnana Kanda. One suggests that actions purify knowledge, whereas the other suggests that knowledge purifies the actions. And when both are in synchronization, we are in what is known as an upasana. Upasana means that which makes us sit nearer to the truth of the Veda. As I pointed out, Veda had 4 modes of divisions: the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvana Veda, each being distributed to different disciples of Vyasa. In the 4 Vedas, we have 3 kinds of mantras. One is called Rigs. It's a mantra having a definite metrical structure based on the number of syllables. Sama, it's a Rig mantra having a musical tone and elaborated chanting method. Yajus, it's a mantra but of a rhythmic prose and is usually short. Here I tried to show a video, but I couldn't last time. So now also we'll skip. And I'll try to upload this in the materials section. The Venn diagram of the Veda showed how the Vedic mantras, which have the common parts and which are separate. As you can see, Rig Veda is one of the biggest of all, the biggest of all, and Samaveda mostly derives from the Rig Veda. So the details of Rig Veda were seen. Important aspects in that were that it is authored by 400 rishis, out of which more than 25 were women rishis. So I also pointed out that gender discrimination for reading and understanding Veda is to be taken as a stupid idea and should be shunned away in the modern understanding, because rishis were far more modern than what we are to this day. Some of the important hymns in the Veda are Purusha Sukta, Sri Sukta, and others. Purusha Sukta I have authored, and Suparna Sukta will be published soon. I think by next year, hopefully. The message in the Rig Veda also I have pointed out, and we have explored one of the very beautiful shlokas called Chatvari Vakparimita Padani, where we explored how a word generates from seeming nothingness to apparent something. And I told that anything we do in our life, any project we take or any idea we develop, it has this element of Chatvari Vak in it. The 4 stages of Vak are Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikari. 3 parts of the Vak are inside and only 1 is visible, which means 3 modes are still developing and 1 mode is finally developed concrete stage. Samaveda is a musical Veda. Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says he is Samaveda among the Vedas, and I also pointed out the importance of that statement, not to take it literally but symbolically. Samaveda, to be uttered properly, we require 6 elements. They are Varna, the syllables, Swara, the accent, Matra, the duration, Balam, the effort, Sama, even tone, and Santana, the context. About the Indian classical music also I have pointed out how 7 swaras, the Sapta swaras of Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni are originated, and they are referred to the sounds in the nature rather than you inventing certain scale on your own. So we have the reference of nature with us. And from it, and certain permutation combinations of the varieties of the swaras, we have 72 father ragas and many daughter ragas, Janaka and Janya ragas we say, with which the whole of Indian musical structure is made up of. Samaveda's instruments were also pointed out. I think Yajurveda is where we stopped, and today we'll continue with the specifics of the Yajurveda. Yajurveda is of twofold, Krishna Yajurveda and Shukla Yajurveda. Krishna means dark, Shukla means bright. There is a story in the Puranas as to how the 2 divisions have occurred. There is a guru called Vaishampayana who was offering knowledge to many disciples. And there was certain disagreement between one of the disciples who is named Yajnavalkya. Because he had a disagreement and they had a small fight. All these are symbolic, by the way. The sages of that cadre will not fight like you and I do in normal sense, but here it means there is the birth of new knowledge based on the seeming differences of the old. And this birth of new knowledge is symbolized in this division of the 2 Vedas. So when the fight happened, it is said that Yajnavalkya has vomited out all the knowledge that he has taken from Vaishampayana. And the disciples of Vaishampayana became the Titri birds. The birds Titri are like very small sparrows. So they swallowed up the knowledge. It means that the knowledge was broken down into 2 parts there. One part was completely assimilated into one sect of people. We call them the Krishna Yajurvedis. Then Yajnavalkya goes to do a penance and he gets the blessings of the sun god. Here sun is symbolical to the inner self, your own I am or God, omnipresent, whatever you call it. And hence it is called the knowledge obtained by him as the bright, or in contrast to Krishna Yajurveda, it is the Shukla Yajurveda. Again, it's an allegory, it's a story for which deep meanings will be assigned by any honest guru. You will be able to learn them when you approach thoroughly to the depths of it. For now, this much background is enough. What does this word Yajus mean? From where is this Yajurveda, the word Yajus, coming from? Rik, we have seen that it is a light ray or a sound that you are producing in the vocal. Sama means the periodicity with which you are uttering the sound. Then you have the word yajus. Yajus means a plan or a ritual. So it is a procedure which is arranged in accordance with the plan of creation. Let's say you have observed a truth in the creation. You want to convey it to your friend. If you convey it in a usual normal language, slowly when he conveys to the other and the other conveys to the other, there will be a deterioration of the truth and there will be much mixing of the self-born ideas. This you can do. I think as kids we have done this experiment. You sit in a circle, one kid starts speaking a big sentence. By the time the same sentence is passed down and it comes to him, the sentence is altered. To protect certain deteriorations, the Veda applies certain keys, which we'll be learning as Shadangas at a later stage. So this procedure, instead of conveying it in a routine language, the Veda employs a crisp, concise, and precise metrical structure so that the truth can't be altered when you transmit the wisdom. So it's not only oral transmission. Now in a Yajurvedic style, you are going to act upon it. Like there is a fire altar, you're going to put things into the fire while reciting the mantras. Of course, by knowing the meaning of what you're doing, you will fetch a much bigger, brighter picture than what you would do by just mimicking what a priest says you to do. So the Yajur mantras guide the actions performed as yajna in accordance with the Rit mantras. And the Yajur mantras are of rhythmic prose, provide the power for the right orientation of action leading to wisdom. In the Veda, it is action leading to the right wisdom. So the mantras of this Veda are chanted in the rites, but Yajur Veda itself has no details for performing the rites, which means to suggest that there is killing of animals in the name of sacrifices in the Vedic times or Yajur Veda or other Vedas is utterly wrong. So whoever claimed these did not either understand the purport of the Veda or misunderstood some English translations who themselves have erred when they translated certain words. Did someone has any point? I heard small voice. Okay, I'll move forward. What are some salient features of Yajur Veda? Sangrahanyeshtya yajate imam janatam sangrahaniti. Meaning, this statement from the Yajur Veda gives you the idea of nationalism. It says that the aim of yajna is integration. All people are united. In olden days, a yajna is not done in a single house alone, but in a group congregations, the yajnas are done. And what is the purpose of most of the yajnas? The purpose was the benefit or welfare of the society. Now, whether yajnas produce the desired results is secondary aspect. The intent with which they did any of these yajna, that the whole society should prosper. I should prosper, my neighbor should prosper, the country should prosper. Such kind of nationalistic integrative approach is what we should capture from this statement. Nowadays, if I take certain political agendas or political acts or political, I don't know how to call it in English, there are some schemes for a certain sect of people. Mostly we see a divide and rule policy. Like only a particular sect of people are concentrated often for a development. And naturally, by logic, if I concentrate on a particular sect of humanity, and if I bring them up, relatively the other sect is going down. Even though I did not adjust anything or tinker with the other part of the society, if I bring one part up, the other part goes down. So it is always wrong to focus on one part, but always to focus on the integral movement of forward or integral development that is needed, which we find in the Vedic ideologies. Another statement, Shatamanam bhavati shatai purusha shatendriya ayushevendriye pratitishthati. You might have heard this as a blessings given by our elders. What are they intending? A blessing kind of such a statement is asking us to live for 100 years and have strength of 100-fold. Here 100 need not be literal 100 years. It means our full life, whatever it may be based on the karma theory or whatever the theories are. But the intent is that we should always live prosperous. So whenever we bless others, we are blessing for their full-fledged living and a happy living. Here blessing means your own intent of their good in your heart and mind. You don't speak or think ill about others. Another statement could be indebtedness. How did the Yajurveda suggest that we are indebted to many things? Rishibhyo yagnena devebhyah prajaya pitrubhya esha varuno yah. That means debt to the seers of knowledge, debt to the devas, and debt to the forefathers. We call this debt to the seers as Rushi Runa, debt to the devas as Deva Runa, and debt to the forefathers as Pitru Runa. If you ever have seen a person who wears the jane, there will be 3 strands of thread. These 3 strands suggest the 3 debts that a human being is indebted to. So they're indebted to the seers of knowledge because we are here seers of knowledge in the modern context. We can take it as we are indebted to the whole scientific community, starting from seerhood till the modern science. The reason is our present existence of even exchanging the ideas itself is because of a hard work of many scientists in the past. So how do we quench or how do we, nullify the debt? By either preserving the knowledge we have been handed over and by not destroying or using it for ill purposes to destroy other nations or anything. How to quench the debt of the devas? Here the deva, the word deva itself means a principle in nature, like let's say oxygen, let's say fire, let's say smoke, let's say hunger. Everything is given a name in the Veda. So we are indebted to all the principles around us, which is making us to live. In physics, we say, right, a body in equilibrium because of the net forces acting on it and summing to zero. Similarly, when there is a net effect of all the cosmic principles acting on us, the atmospheric pressure from inside, the pressure of the fluids, and much more, the regular running of our hunger and all, this is all in the physical plane. Then our mind, our thoughts, our mental health, everything. When everything runs in harmony, which none of it is in our control, if you ever observed it, we are taking help of that to live. For example, take hunger. If hunger is in your hands, you could be hungry right now and eat as much as you want. But only when hunger rings a bell in your stomach, only then you would want to eat something. Therefore, we are dependent on hunger. If you are not feeling hungry for 3-4 days, what do? You go to a doctor. It's not in your hands. Even doctor tries to give some medicine. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it goes. Basically, when we do error with our lifestyle, hunger damages. That means we are behaving wrongly with the deva of the hunger. That is how the Vedic seers saw what the devas are and their relationship with the devas. Therefore, to quench the depth of the devas, we have to live harmoniously with the nature around us, not destroying, self-sustaining, and nature developing. If we are living like that, our debt to the devas is nullified. Then we have a debt to our forefathers. Well, Pitru Runa we say, and Pitru Devas, like this Paksha is called Pitru Paksha. Today is the last day. Pitru, the word Pitru has 2 meanings. One is less understood meaning. and one is more understood meaning. In the more widely understood, Pitru means forefathers. But in the less, more deeper meaning, the word Pitru or Pitru Deva means the ones who are carrying over the constructions of our body, basically. So how are we born? When we are a unicellular organism, from there to a multicellular organism, when we are developing, the Vedic seers had a particular theory, and the theory is that there are some workers called the Pitrudevas working, and they work everywhere in the universe, building up things. Therefore, our debt to these creators can be quenched by procreating life and giving the bodies to the so-called the hanging souls, if you may call it. These are the three runas which we are born with, and to quench, we have to fulfill all the three things that I mentioned. This was the idea of lifestyle in a Vedic time. How do we live now if you compare and contrast? Most of us, we do not respect the knowledge of the elders. We misuse the knowledge. Atom bomb is one of the examples, using of atom bomb as an example of how we misutilize the knowledge. We misutilize the nature around us. We pollute, global warming, whatnot. We are indebted to the forefathers and not maintaining a healthy lifestyle to procreate, not healthy social lifestyle itself is again you can call it deviation from the path envisioned by the Vedic seers. Well, that is one aspect. The other aspect is, Noor, is my screen still visible? I kind of lost it and got it. Mr. Noor, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Is the
Visible,
screen
sir.
visible? Screen means the slide.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Prithivya aham ud antariksha aruham antariksha divam aruham divo nagasya prashtat swarjyotir agamaham. The way of development. How, if I ask, how are we progressing in life? We say, well, I want to be an engineer, then I want to earn certain money, then I want to have certain big position in life, so on and so forth. We want to have a good family, good kids, blah, blah. We keep on telling. What did Vedic seers want in terms of a development or the progress in their life? They said, I have risen from the earth to the midworld. Here, earth can be meaning to the mundane world, to the midworld as in the beyond physical. I have risen from the beyond physical to heaven. From the ridge of heaven, I have gone to the sun world, the light. That means from completely materialistic point of view, they are slowly and slowly and slowly and slowly progressing towards the spiritual idea that everything is light here. Light is not the physical light. It can mean symbolic light with which the whole existence is occurring. So their meaning of development is far superior, I would say. And we are mostly stuck in the very first statement, is still trying to, move above the earth. Yes, in a symbolic way. Of course, we are flying in aeroplanes and jets and all. That's not about the earth we are speaking here. Here, Sarthak Gupta, did you have any question? You're raising your hand. Mr. Sarthak. Okay. What other points do we have? It is in Yajurveda we find the mention of the everyday notions we have. For example, the 12 months and the 6 seasons. Of course, they were named in a different way in the Yajurveda. Madhu, Madhava, like Vasanta, etc. 27 nakshatras, we call them asterisms in the English, like Kritika, Chitra, Arudra, etc. Anuradha. Then we have notion even of medicinal plants and trees, such as Durva, Ashwatha, Vata, etc. And their uses have also been found, which if you go into Ayurveda, you will find much, much depth. Human anatomy, like Hridaya, etc. are given. Here, there is something interesting. In the Veda, whenever there is a word used, You cannot just turn the page away without giving proper attention to what they are trying to say there. For example, Hridaya. Why should your heart be called as Hridaya? In English, we don't know why they have called heart as heart, kidney as kidney, stomach as stomach. There must be some reason. Either it is randomly chosen or not. I am not an expert in English, so I do not know, but no one has taught me. That shows that the birth of words in English is not so widely known. Basically, we call that etymology. So the etymological science of Sanskrit is far superior. For example, you consider the word Hridaya, right? It is a combination of three words. Hrid, da, ya. Da like danam, datta. The key word da means to give. Ya like word yama. Yam means to control, to regulate. Hrid means to draw or withdraw or to pull something. So that which pulls and that which gives and that which regulates this process is Hridaya. Now you see, the moment I hear the word Hridaya, I can easily sense, okay, they are naming to that organ in the body, which pulls, which supplies, and which regulates the thing, which is the heart organ. So that is the thing which usually fascinates me, because the etymology of Sanskrit is something marvelous. No, yes, there even Latin language, I think Latin language, they have this similar kind of structure. In fact, certain words of Sanskrit we see, translated into the current existing languages in Europe also, like mata, mother, mom, amma, father, padre, pita, these kind of things. If you see, the Sanskrit origins can be easily traced out. But I don't know if anyone has worked out the complete tracing out. Maybe one of you can do in future as a side hobby. Or with the advent of AI, you can use the AI's knowledge and the capabilities to bring out this tracing back aspect. Well, there is mention of metals like Hiranya, gold, Aya, bronze, Sesham, lead, Trapu, tin, Shyama, iron, Loha, copper. Basically, why I presented this slide is that when the English have translated the Veda and they said Vedic times, it was a dark age, they did not even know anything. They just worshipped trees, rivers, clouds because they were afraid. I kind of disagree with that. And as you can see, there is a whole theme. By now, you might have understood how vast our Indian knowledge system is and how futile the attempts of the British had been in terms of suppressing the grand truth. As Lord Buddha says, right? Three things cannot be hidden forever: sun, the moon, and the truth. So truth cannot be hidden for long. Maybe this is the time you, the young generation, should carry out you should be the torchbearers of the truth of Indian knowledge systems. Well, that's my asha, or you can say intention. Not asha is not intention, my desire, heartful desire. Okay. In Yajurveda, we find many gods. Not only Yajurveda, in all the Vedas. Because our time is limited, I have taken Yajurveda to portray certain aspects of gods. As I last time pointed out in that statement, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. There is only one truth, but the learned one portrays it in different ways. There is only one omnipresence, but the functionalities are different. Just like you are a student to me, you're a son or a daughter to your parents, you're a friend to your friends, you're a brother to your younger brother, you're a sibling, you are an exam writing aspirant, whatever. Based on the functionality, your role has changed. But in all these roles, you remain the same. But your application or relation to the world has changed. Similarly, Ekam Sat, the one God, will manifest in different ways when trying to express different truth, different kinds of one truth in the nature. We call them the Devas. The very first god that everyone sees in the Veda is Agni. Agni means fire in the physical sense, or when you apply the same to your psychological sense, it is the willpower. Basically, Agni is called Anganam Nihitaha Agni. That means that which lurks and hides in every tiny atom of your body, which is willpower. If there is no willpower, you can't even lift your palm, you can't walk, you can't speak, nothing. So we call that also as Agni. Indra, Idam Dadati Indra, that means the one who is the Lord of gods, he has portrayed, or he is the Indra can be translated as Indriyani Adhipati. That means he is the Lord of the Indriyas. Here, Indriya means your sense organs or your organs. The one who rules over all your organs is your mind. Your mind wants to eat, even though if you have a fever, if your will is weak, you will follow your mind's instructions, eat and fall more sick. So mind is much, much powerful. It controls your body. So that aspect which controls all other gods, we call that Indra. Vayu. Vayu means wind, or it is also actually called pulsation. Pulsation means to go and come, to go and come. In your body, there is some actions called peristaltic movement, right? Some movements are peristaltic and anti-peristaltic. So the movements are to move forward and backward. It is like going, one example could be while delivering a baby. A woman experiences these kind of movements because the body has to push the baby out. So that is where the Vayu term can be used as well, not only the wind that we know. That is, how do we know these secrets? When you learn the Veda in its full aspects, we will learn. Otherwise, whenever you hear Vayu and you only think of wind, you will lose more than 80% of the intent of the Veda. So when we say Hanuman is Vayuputra, he is not only the son of the wind, he can be the lord of pulsations in us. One very good pulsation in our body is heart. Heart pulsates, right? That is why, because he is the lord of heart pulsations, in his heart, symbolically, he shows that I have Rama in my heart. That means Rama, Ra-ma, the word itself is a measure of light or the light itself. So he is the god who was thought of presiding over, not thought of, who was discovered to be preside or personified to be presiding over your every heart's pulsation. Like that, every small detail in scripture has a lot of depth. If I start that, I don't think our course time will be sufficient, but I'm only trying to give certain hints for certain aspects for you to learn the grandeur of our knowledge system. There is this person by the name Tony Nader. He is an MIT graduate, and he finally settled in Maharishi University. He wrote 2 books on how Ramayana, the story of Ramayana, encodes the human physiology, and they are very big books. And as he's from MIT, as you might have known, the rigor of scientific reference will be very huge. If you are interested, you should search for that and look what he's trying to say. Okay, moving forward, we have Ashwins, twin gods who are also physicians. Mitra, sun, warmth, love. Varuna, rain or boundary, avarana we say, right? The boundary or layers. Soma, delight and bliss. So here, many people say in the Vedic times, they used to drink Soma juice, which is like an alcohol. That's again a rubbish idea, because Soma is a word utilized for delight or bliss after you have discovered certain truth. Let's say you're doing a project and you discovered some very finer points, and you'll feel an ecstatic moment in that moment, right? Ecstatic feeling. That we call is Soma. Therefore, we should never read the English translations of foreign authors or foreign-oriented Indian author translations. Or even if you read, you should keep in mind the intent of the seers as I am pointing out and take it as a gauge stick to measure the truth value. Then we have Aditi, the goddess of infinity, Ila, goddess of revelation, Saraswati, goddess of knowledge, Sharama, goddess of intuition, Rudra, variation. Sorry, I meant vibrations in space. There's a typo, please note. Rudra means the vibrations in space. Vishnu, the whole space or pervasiveness, the expansion. And Vasu's, the material wealth. Again, there is a typo. It's a material wealth. Please ignore my typos. Yeah. How do I derive all the meanings of these names of gods? Well, when you know what the hymn is trying to speak about these deities, you will understand instead of praising certain unknown god out of fear, you will understand they are praising and trying us to meditate and inculcate these aspects in our everyday existence. The worship means to become oneness with the deity. So usually, most of us who believe in God, if you ask which God you like, they'll tell certain names. For those people, if you actually notice why they like that God, the qualities of the God attract them because they would want to improve in those qualities. Therefore, a worship is often for us to develop certain qualities in our characteristic in nature. And hence, the deities' hymns try to inculcate those characteristics inside us. That's the whole theme. As I said, words cannot be taken literally, which may lead to mistranslations. Some symbols I give here, which you can note in your notes. Gauhu, for example, usually people translate it as cow, but in the Vedic parlance, the first and foremost meaning the Gauhu, the word represents is light or knowledge. So the light coming from sun is sometimes told as 360 cows. That means the 360 rays in the plane that it spreads is the light. For example, planets are transit. We call them gochara. That means the transit, the chara of the light looking orbs. For example, Ashwa. Ashwa is made up of A plus Shwa. Shwa means either yesterday or tomorrow. Ashwa means there is no yesterday, no tomorrow, or something that is permanent. So Ashwa, though it is horse in a regular terminology, it represents the life or prana which perpetuates over and over and over and again infinitely. Similarly, Hamsa. Hamsa is swan at certain cases, but foremost, it is the breath of life. That is why in Hamsa, the word manipulated becomes Soham. In the Soham, you remove the consonants, the Sa and Ma, you are remaining with Om, which is the breath of life we say. So these kind of depths, unless known, we will translate them as Hamsa. Like for example, goddess Saraswati is said to be Hamsavahini. She is represented to be sitting on swan. What does this represent? It means the consciousness, which is Saraswati. Saras means flow. So Savati means continuous flow. So goddess of consciousness takes the seat of our breath, and hence we are alive. The moment you take away swan or the breath from our life, our consciousness also goes away. So these are the symbols that are to be meditated upon or to be understood upon. Then we have Adri, the hill or strong force, Apa, water purification, Nadi, river or flow of energy, Pashu, animal. Sometimes, mostly it is animal, but your sense organs are also called Pashu because they are being tied with the Pasha means rope. Because we are being tied by sense organs, we are also called sometimes Pashu by the Veda. So these are symbols for you to understand how the physical known meanings must be secondary to the unknown non-physical meanings of the words. And that was the Yajurveda. Then we have Atharvana Veda, the last of the 4 Vedas. Atharvana Veda is the 4th dimension of the Veda. It has 20 kandas, 736 suktas, and 6,000 mantras. More than 1/6 of the Veda borrows from the Rig Veda Samhita. Atharvana, Atharva means that which is lower. If you consider your face as one full Veda, it is often stated that the 3 Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, is the upper jaw, upper part, whereas Atharvana Veda is the lower jaw. What is the functionality of the lower jaw? If I try to close the lower jaw and speak, I don't think I can speak. It's very hard to speak, is it not? Only when the lower jaw oscillates and lets the word out in a particular fashion can I utter what I am trying to convey to you. This symbol suggests that Atharvana Veda is much more practical in bringing out the hidden import of the 3 Vedas, which are the upper jaw, and it acts as a dynamic agent to express the truth of the Veda in a real, practical, at this moment style. It mostly deals with application of wisdom contained in the 3 Vedas. Here and now is its theme, basically. We don't care afterlife, we don't care before, we don't care. But here and now, if you are pure, if you are in rhythm with the nature, then you will be blissful and happy. What are certain things that this Veda discusses? Diseases and cure, prolonging life, fulfillment of desires, building constructions, trade, commerce, and many other things. The thematic classification, broadly speaking, this is the thematic classification of the Atharvana Veda. We have the mantras called Bhaishajayani mantras, the mantras referring to various medicines. Ayushyani mantras, the mantras for prolonging the life. Paushtikani mantras, the mantras while plowing the field, construction, etc. Prayaschittani mantras, the mantras to do away with the inauspicious. Stri karmani, the mantras exclusive to the woman folk. Marriage, love, child, etc. Rajakarmani, the mantras on political notions and what the kings and the rulers have to do. And Brahmanyani, the mantras on the path of God realization. So this is the full theme of mantras that are existing in the Atharvana Veda. And whenever you go to that Veda and read a hymn, you should remember that some of these aspects are being pointed out there. Let's take some of the words of wisdom called Subhashitas. You might have heard some Subhashitas like Bhartrhari Subhashitas and all. These are far more before than the Bhartrhari and all. These are from the Vedas itself. Jihvaye agre madhume jihva mule madhulakam. May only sweet speech arise in me and may it remain sweet as I deliver it with my tongue. Basically, even Manusmriti has something related to this. It says, Satyam bruyat, Priyam bruyat, Asatyam na bruyat, something like that. Basically, it asks us to speak the truth, but the truth in a softer way. You should never speak, though it is a truth, in a way that the other person can get hurt. Similarly, because it is sweet, we should not speak untruth, because it will eventually harm the relation. So the Vedic time itself, they have already wanted and said that only sweet speech may be spoken, and that may be the truth. Yeah, Suhar Tena Saha. There can be friendship only with persons with sympathy and open heart. Whenever there is selfishness, the friendship is eventual to be doomed. Whenever there is open heart and sympathy and understanding of the other person, the friendship is going to be strong and remain forever. Is it not? If you don't understand your friend, then who will? It's for you to understand your friend and be supportive. Instead, most of us, out of some notions, we try to even destroy our friends without our knowledge sometimes, because we have not that much conscious effort putting into little bit of future as to what would happen if I do this. But if we are inculcated in the art of the Vedic style of living, we would be considerate and be alert as to if we are pushing our friends to the doomsday, or are we really supporting them in their development? Vacham vadata bhadraya. Speak only words of happy and good. Utkramatah purusha ma avattaha mrutoh. O human, climb to the heights and do not fall into the depths of ignorance. Basically, the previous one, of course, is self-explanatory. This one, it says you have to climb to the heights. Heights of what? Mount Everest. Not every one of us can climb Mount Everest. Here, the heights imply the heights of life, heights of respect, heights of everything that we do in our life. And do not fall into the depths of ignorance, because the moment we are aiming at something, remember, there will always be exact opposite to that lurking to absorb us the moment we step down. And we should willfully, consciously do not step down and only think about the goal that we are trying to achieve. That motivation is given by this statement. So I should not say state mantra. Surya Atma Jagatah Tastusa Sha. Yacha means end in Sanskrit. So it always comes at the end. The sun is the soul of all that is dynamic and static. Of course, if you consider it as a physical sun, well, that doesn't make any sense. But the spiritual sun, in the sense, from where does sun get its light? Of course, in physics, we say when an electron jumps from higher energy shell to a lower energy shell, light emits. Now, have you ever heard Richard Feynman? Noor and Sarthak, I don't know other people if they are there. Have you ever heard
Yes,
of
sir.
the scientist Richard Feynman?
Yes, sir.
Richard Feynman, in one of his interviews, he gives a very beautiful story. His father apparently was listening to what he has discovered. So he was trying to explain the whole quantum mechanics to his father in a very simplified way. So he told his father, well, Dad, there is a higher level of energy. There's a lower level of energy for an atom. When an electron jumps from higher to lower, it releases a photon. When it absorbs a photon, it goes from lower to higher. Well, his father thought a while and he asked, well, my son, in the case when electron is jumping from higher to lower, you said an energy photon is released. Where does this photon lie? Does it lie in the higher energy? Does it lie in the lower energy? Is it in the electron? Where is it? And Feynman laughs and he says he himself doesn't have answer. Not even physicists have found an answer for this question. Now, taking that stop for the modern physics as the present limitation, of course, we will be discovering many more truths in the coming generations. One of you can discover it and India will be proud of it. Until then, if we go into the Veda and see what they're trying to say, they would say that even there, whichever place the photon is being released from, let us assume that is some Dhamma, they call it Divya Dhamma. It is that spiritual sun or the source of light for all the light that we are perceiving now. That is the soul of everything that is dynamic and static. So though it seems theoretical, though it seems mystical, the Veda mantra is always a step ahead, at least in terms of philosophical attribution to the grand truth. So in summary, Vedas are quintessential wisdom that forms the foundation for the Sanatana Dharma and is considered as the ultimate reference for every aspect of living in India. Rig Veda is the mother of all the Vedas, and much of its text is borrowed by the other Vedic texts. The mantras of Samaveda have musical scales, out of which the contemporary Indian musical scales have taken their original form. The Yajurveda focuses more on teaching the mysteries of nature via the execution of the drama as a physical and mental ritual. A major part of Atharvana Veda deals with the practical issues such as disease and cure, fulfillment of desires, fates and commerce, etc. Note down these questions. What does the word Veda mean and why is it called Apaurushaya? On what fundamental characteristics has the wisdom been categorized into 4 Vedas? what does Chatwari Vak concept of Rig Veda, how does it relate to our everyday context? What are the elements of Samagana mantra and how does this help preserve Samaveda in oral tradition? Mention few of the names of the gods that appear in it along with their inner meanings. Okay, here I meant Yajurveda, okay? The question should read, mention few of the names of the gods in Yajurveda. Mention few words of wisdom as they appear in the Atharvana Veda. So that for one part of the session, you can take a 5-7 minutes break. We will resume once everyone is back. Share your thoughts with them. Now we are moving forward to
Important.
yes. So the knowledge is very important. Yes, indeed. As I said at the starting day, right? Why? Why is your country famous? From which country you hail from? What have you achieved? What have your country achieved thus far? If someone asks, if we open our mouth and just empty words come out, how shameful it is to stand in front of the relatively new Western countries from the 15th century, and we hailing from more than 3,000 to 5,000 years of historical development, do not know anything about our own culture. It's like asking, what does your father do? And you say, I don't know. It is the same thing. That is why the knowledge is important. Did I answer the question why?
Yes, sir.
Someone
Yes,
asked,
sir.
right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
See, everything is not always money oriented, not always job oriented. In terms of job, maybe this is helpful, may not be helpful, I don't know. But some things are to our pride, some things are to our very own being in this country as a patriot. It is to that part of ourself I'm appealing to in this course, okay? My goal is not to test you, give you grades, all that. My goal is to ignite at least a very tiny spark of that love and passion or respect at the least to what your forefathers have contributed to. That's all. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you. Now moving into the further division of each Veda, it is divided in the following sections: Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishads. Here the Upanishads part is the famous and the interesting part, and most interesting for our Niyogis are also. Me and Niyogis sir and in the Sankar Club, we used to have a lot of discussions in this area. But yeah, it is our duty to know other things. First, I'll speak about other things and come to Upanishad part. Samhita is basically the main portion of the Vedic text, which encompasses all the mantra portion of the Veda. So whatever we described about Veda till now, you can push it into one section called Samhita. Samhita means compendium or collection. Okay. Now Brahmana. Here the Brahmana word has nothing to do with the caste name Brahmin, as I already told in the past. Here, the word Brahmana means expansion or explanation. The root word for Brahmana means Brumhanam. It comes from the word to expand or blossom or evolve. What Brahmanas contain is that they contain the practical keys and technical know-how relating to the original text of the Veda. So when you open the Vedic text, you might not understand certain things as to what it is or why it is. But for example, how to utter a sukta, how to listen, how to link up the meanings which are cross-correlated in the Veda itself. Such things are explained in the Brahmana part of the Veda. Brahmana carries elaborate explanation of each one of the 4 original texts. So each Veda has its own Brahmana. The Rig Veda has its Brahmana, the Yajur Veda has its Brahmana, the Samaveda, the Atharvana Veda, every Veda has its own Brahmanas. Esoterically, that means seek with a deeper meaning. Brahma, the word itself means a self-expanding principle of the universe. So that is why we say Lord Brahma in the Puranas, self-born from the navel of Vishnu. That means from the center of the space, he was suddenly popped up. Well, even Big Bang, that's what we would say, from seeming nothingness, suddenly the energy ball popped up of very teeny tiny volume, which exploded and gave this universe. In the similar fashion, we said the creator or the God principle popped out of the navel or the center of the universe. We call it the Brahma principle. And the Brahmana, taking that root word, helps us to expand from the center to the circumference of the Veda. The Brahmana text contain explanatory notes pertaining to the mantras used, which mantra to be recited in which ritual, which context, what is the deity, what is the purpose, who should recite, all these things are told there. Some of the examples of the Brahmanas are, see, why I keep giving these lists is not for you to just remember. It is to show you that the wealth of texts that we have developed over a period of time. No other country in the world has developed a manual that wide variety for a specific purpose that they sought. So not only that we saw the purposes in life in a different manifold nature, we also developed particular rhythmic and systematic and logical manuals for it. So in the Brahmana, we have Aitareya Brahmana, which contains Soma sacrifice and Agnihotras. Kaushitika Brahmana, for example, food sacrifices, seasonal sacrifices, full moon sacrifices, etc. Shatapatha Brahmana, Agnichayana, Ashwamedha Yajna, Upanayana, Swadhyaya, etc. Here, Shatapatha Brahmana means Shatapatha, means 100 paths. One of the existing wide and largest Brahmana is Shatapatha Brahmana. Then we have Taittiriya Brahmana, then we have Tandya Maha Brahmana, then we have Tadvimshat Brahmana, then we have Upada Brahmana, and many things. Okay. Gopada Brahmana means that which deals with path of life. Well, I'm not explaining everything because it seems self-explanatory, the meanings that I have given there. Aranyakas. Usually, Aranyakas are those texts which are read by those people who have fulfilled their duties to the society and finally gather in the forest. That means we have four, you can say, stages in life. One when we are baby stage, then we are adolescent, then we are adults and youth to adult, and then we are finally little old. After we are adult and we have quenched all the duties, like we have got children, we married them, we have given all the wealth to our children, whatever in our capacity, our duties are done. We should not linger in the society anymore. That was the Vedic lifestyle. Because if we keep on lingering in the same place, the society would get fired and the stagnation would happen. Right? Therefore, what they used to do, they used to slowly seclude into the forest. Here, forest doesn't mean a very wild, deep forest. It means habitable forests where it is little away from the existing society, but it is conducive to any of the spiritual practices. So remember, it's only those people who fulfill the duties to the society have gone to the forests, not people of your age. So Aranya means a forest. So those works which have been studied in the forest by this sect of people were called Aranyakas. While Brahmanas approach the yajna or the Vedic hymn in a ritualistic perspective, Aranyakas approach the same with a philosophical perspective. Remember, these are being read by those who have already retired. So for them, more than physical rituals, the mental and philosophical understanding is more important. Therefore, the Aranyakas deal with such aspects. So Aranyakas help in progressively evolving the thought process from the outer world to the inner world and pave the way for the next stage of life. Now comes the famous Upanishads section. What is Upanishad? Upa means near and Nishad means to sit. It makes us sit near a guru and learn the truth of the Veda. So it is in fact making us closer and closer and closer to the reality, the truth behind the garb of the Vedic hymn. These are treatises dealing with the ultimate questions of life that we all have. It is in Upanishads that you find the major thought revolution happening in the Vedic scheme. It is in the Upanishadic statements we find some of the profound questions as well as the answers pertaining to unanswered questions of our life. A deeper study of nature and psychology of these Upanishads will reveal that it deals with vivid descriptions of interplay of the jiva or the being, that is you, the universe, the jagat or the backdrop, and Ishvara, the all-encompassing driving force. Therefore, the only three entities and their interplay between each other is what being extolled in the Upanishad as the inner meaning of the Veda. Remember, Upanishads also are part of the Veda. Therefore, without the Veda, one should never read the Upanishad. Upanishads are particular, or this is, in fact, Upanishads are called Vedanta. Veda Anta. One can understand it as the end of the Veda or the essence of the Veda. So as the end part of the Veda or the essence of the Veda, they are to be read in tune with the Vedic theme. So the ultimate pronouncement of or the sentences of grand truth are called Mahavakyas, and they are contained in these Upanishads. Let us see as to how Upanishads influenced some of the greatest minds in the world. He is Arthur Schopenhauer, a German philosopher. He says, in the whole world, there is no study so beneficial and so elevating as that of the Upanishads. It has been the solace of my life. It will be the solace of my death. The German philosopher, I think in 1800s, this person was, and he has influenced many other philosophers and scientists after him. And he reveres Upanishads to the highest. As you can see, he states, it has been the solace of my life and it will be the solace of my death. And we are still ignorant and ask why the Upanishads and all these are important. How pitiful of our existence, right? Anyway, can anyone point out who this person is? This person is very wide known. Can someone please, who have the knowledge of physics, who likes physics, can tell me who this person is? Mr. Noor? Sarthar? And other persons, I forgot the names. Any idea? Yes, yes. Who is it? Erwin Schrödinger. Yeah, correct.
Schrödinger.
The Nobel Prize winning Austrian physicist. What does he say? Read it. From the early great Upanishads, the recognition Atman equal to Brahman was in Indian thought considered to represent the quintessential of insight into happenings of the world. The striving of all the schools of Vedanta was to assimilate in their mind this grandest of all the truth. The only solution to this conflict, insofar as in any is available or at all, if at all, lies in the ancient wisdom of the Upanishads. This person, if you know, was the father of quantum mechanics. He introduced the Schrödinger equation to the physics. And when he delivered lectures in Ireland, in Dublin, he coined about Upanishads. And these were encoded. Mr. Rajat Singh. Mr. Rajat Singh. Rajat Singh. I am writing your name.
लिखा तो है स्वीट कॉर्न कैप्सिकम ऑनियन
Sweet
टोमेटो
corn,
मार्गरेटा
Rajat Singh. Okay. Someone
Rajat,
of
mic
Rajat's
mute करो.
friend, please message him. I don't know how to mute him. Okay, he muted. They told Vedic seers asked her to speak truth, and he's speaking sweet corn. Good. So the only solution to this conflict in so far as is any available at all lies in the ancient wisdom of the Upanishads. So the people like Schrodinger, away far away from the land of India, were such influenced by the power of the Upanishadic thoughts. Then we have this person. Anyone know this guy? Again, someone please, who are still good students. You should know. If you are interested in modern science, you should know who contributed to the modern science. Niels Bohr, yes, Niels Bohr. You know what he said? He said, I go to the Upanishads to ask questions. The one person after whose model we follow till date, how an atom would look like. He also stated that he goes to Upanishad to ask questions because your object, I actually see, whoever is deeply interested in quantum mechanics will also be deeply interested in the Indian perennial philosophy. There is a very close relation. Nikola Tesla had conversations with Swami Vivekananda in terms of energy and force. You should go dig deeper into our history and you will see within 50 years before how the West was influenced by our own thoughts. Then we have the greatest poet, T.S. Eliot, a Nobel Prize winning American poet. He writes, in fact, inspired by his readings of the Upanishad, he based the whole one of the sections in his poem, The Wasteland, a title called What the Thunder Said, and it is from the Aranyaka Upanishad. Can you imagine that poets also have borrowed the concepts and literally used from our Upanishads? Then this person is Annie Besant, who was British socialist, theosophist, women's rights and home rule activist, educationist, and a campaigner for Indian nationalism. And Besant was played a very key role in India as well as in Ireland in their freedom movements. She says, the Upanishads are unique in the sacred literature of the world. They stand alone as beacon lights on mountain peak, showing how man may climb, how much of the light of the self may shine out through the vessel of clay, how truly God may speak through man. Then we have William Q. Church. He is Irish-American mystic and occultist. Our Aryan ancestors have made the declaration repeated by thousands since that each man is himself a little universe. This is what he understood from the Upanishads. Next we have the very famous Swami Vivekananda's statements. How many of you have already read Vivekananda's literature? Have you been to or any time to the libraries that have his books or his mission, the Ramakrishna mission? In Jaipur, the Ramakrishna mission was one of my to-go spot often, and along with Niyogi sir. Has anyone read his literature? Can you say yes, no? None of you have read his even a small book? Come on. Swami Vivekananda. We celebrate National Youth Day on birthday. Yes, you read. What are the striking features that you find in his literature or in his speeches?
Knowledge was very pure.
Knowledge was?
Very pure.
Okay. Little more. That is a generic statement. See, he often spoke in certain tone. Have you ever realized when you're reading his literature that you are little more motivated than other teachers? You're motivated, you're energetic. He brings in English, I don't know how, but the power and dynamism that the moment you read his words, your whole world, Even though if you're in the most depressed state, you will be elevated to a very high confidence levels. And he has been my solace and my guru for all the time. And his works we can't even comment upon, but yeah, and I'm still studying his works. What did he say about the Vedas? Sorry, about the Upanishads? Swami Vivekananda, Indian Hindu monk, philosopher, author, religious teacher, a key figure in introduction of Vedanta and yoga to the Western world. You all know his speech, right? He started his speech with brothers and sisters of America, and everyone suddenly calmed down to listen. Otherwise, they were all murmuring inside amongst them by looking at the attire of Vivekananda. You know, the attire of Vivekananda was given by the Rajasthan in a place called Ketadi. There is this king who gave this attire, the turban, and the attire to him. And I've been there again along with the yogis. I've been there. I meditated in the room where Swami Vivekananda meditated for 40 days. And I even played flute there. The area, the region is very serene, and one should visit that place, you know, the Ramakrishna Mission in Ketadi. It is, I think, 4 hours from Jaipur, if I remember correctly. You should explore. If you have been at a place, you should explore different dimensions of that city and region. Anyway, Swami Vivekananda says, go back to your Upanishads, the shining, the strengthening, the bright philosophy, and part from all these mysterious things, all these weakening things. That means whenever you find yourself attached and get entangled and you're unable to de-entangle yourself, go back to Upanishads and they will help you, detach from your entanglements. Here the entanglements are the mental entanglements, not the physical entanglements. Upanishads have one subject, one task before them, to prove the following theme. And this, I think, is in quintessence the essence of Upanishads as understood by most of the seers and portrayed by Vivekananda Swami. Just as by the knowledge of one lump of clay, we have the knowledge of all the clay in the universe. So what is that? Knowing which we know everything in the universe. That question is answered by the Upanishads. So here you can see, have you ever seen asteroid rocks are studied, moon rocks are studied, right? But we don't bring whole moon to the earth. We just bring teeny tiny part of the moon, very teeny tiny part, and then we study them and we'll try to understand whole moon. Yeah. There's a proverb in Telugu, I don't know if it is there in Hindi. Basically, we say to know if the rice is cooked or not, you see only few grains. If they are cooked, the whole rice is cooked. It is inferred automatically. Like that, by knowing what, we will know the entire truth of the universe. That is the answer for the Upanishads. And this is what Swami Vivekananda says. Always repeat the great mantras. Thou art that, I am that. All this is verily Brahman, and have courage of a lion in the heart. You see, this kind of theme is what motivated people. Let the lion of Vedanta roar, and the foxes of fear and hatred will fly to their hole. As you can see, he emphasizes the Vedanta and the Upanishads to such a great length that not even a small part of our existence would be curious less after listening to these statements. We would be definitely be motivated. At least I was motivated in my 7th standard by his works to understand what Vedanta is all about. Then we all know the great Mahatma Gandhi ji, the national leader of social reform, is no introduction needed. He says in the Upanishads, the spiritual essence of all that exists, the fundamental reality is called Brahman. The wonderful implication of the great truth, Brahman is real, this world is not real, grows on me from day to day. Does anyone know this person? My dear student fellows, Anyone know this person? Come on. Someone should know. Come on, someone. I would be wondered if no one knows. We celebrate Teachers' Day in his name. Hello, I can't hear. Please speak louder. Hello. Okay, no one knows. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. Yes. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, Bharat Ratna awardee, Templeton Prize holder, and the second president of India. Under whose name we celebrate Teachers' Day with a lot of passion and love. He has written a book called The Principal Upanishads, which is a milestone in the English literature by an Indian author in the Vedic themes. And he got, I think, huge amount of sums with the Templeton Prize, which he donated as well. So he says, and his statements are beautiful. Anyone who reads the Upanishads in the original Sanskrit will be caught up and carried away by the elevation, the poetry, the compelling fascination of the many utterances through which they lay bare the secret and sacred relations of the human soul and the ultimate reality. When we read them, we cannot help being impressed by the exceptional ability, earnestness, and rightness of mind of those who wrestled with these ultimate questions. These souls who tackle these problems remain still and will remain for all time in essential harmony with the highest ideal of civilization. And this paragraph is one of my most favorite paragraphs in the whole of utterances after Swami Vivekananda's. This person, I don't know if anyone knows, but he is Sri Aurobindo. He is a Bengali, born up in UK, brought up in UK, but then came back to India. He played a crucial role in freedom movement, but then took to solace in Puducherry or Pondicherry in Tamil Nadu, established an ashram, became a yogi, and finally authored voluminous amounts on the Vedic literature. In fact, he has written a poem called Savitri, which is more than 25,000 lines. And I think it is one of the biggest in the present era in English. And he has taken more than 35 years to write it, shape it, and articulate it, which he says it is the essence of his spiritual research or understanding. And people are doing PhDs on Savitri in India and abroad. Even in Oxford and Harvard, you'll see his PhD thesis being published on the topics and the subtleties of Savitri. What did Aurobindo say on the Upanishads? He says, Upanishads are the supreme work of the Indian mind, and that it should be so, that the highest self-expression of its genius, its sublimest poetry, its greatest creation of thought and word, should be not a literary or poetical masterpiece of the ordinary kind, but a large flood of spiritual revelation of this direct and profound character is a significant fact, evidence of a unique mentality and unusual turn of spirit. His English is very hard. Bear with me. Aurobindo's English is super hard. I don't know why, but maybe because the thought is much more harder to comprehend. Because the words follow the thought. Upanishads are at once profound religious scriptures, but they are a record of the deepest spiritual experiences, document of revelatory and intuitive philosophy of an inexhaustible light, power, and largeness. And when written in verse or candescent prose, spiritual poems of an absolute and unfailing inspiration, inevitable in phrase, wonderful in rhythm and expression. Next. Originally, now that I hope everyone is inspired by these very many statements I gathered, the purpose is to show you both in India and in the West, people have been influenced by the Upanishads. They speak very highly about the Upanishads. If not Vedas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, Samhitas, if not anything else, at the least you should know about the Upanishads and their revelations to the modern man. That's the least that we expected. Originally, it seems, according to the references we find in the Vedas itself, there are 1,018 Upanishads that should be available. But now, only 108 are being available. Rig Veda has 10 of them. Yajurveda has 19 in Shukla Yajurveda, 32 in Krishna Yajurveda. Then Samaveda has 16 of them. Atharvana Veda has 31 of them. Out of all those 108 Upanishads, the elders have categorized. Mr. Sadhak Gupta, can you go out of the meeting? I think it's from your mic. I have been getting much noise. I wish this were Zoom. Okay. The 10 principal Upanishads are, it is given by a very beautiful shloka that can be memorized by anyone. Isha kena katha prashna munda mandukya tittiri aitareyam cha chandogyam brahadaranyakam dasha. That means there is Isha, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Mundaka, Mandukya, Taittiriya, Aitareya, Chandogya, and Brahadaranyaka. These are the 10 Upanishads, which if you get accustomed and, which you get well conversant with, you would understand the meaning of what these famous personalities have just quoted. Because most of what they have quoted, 99.9%, are from these 10 Upanishads. The meanings that they have got from these 10 Upanishads. I have authored one of the commentary to one of the Upanishads called The Grandeur of Om, Mandukya Upanishad. You can get that on Amazon. It's a very small Upanishad with 12 aphorisms on how Om is to be meditated upon. And I took to liking for it and I put it in a book form. If anyone is interested, they can read. Otherwise, the best translations of the Upanishads we have are from the Ramakrishna Mission, of Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. Sri Aurobindo's will be super tough. I would go to these two for most best translations. Or even Sivananda Saraswati has some of the translations well documented. In Upanishads, it was already pointed out, and now we'll understand, there are something called Mahavakyas. These are like the ultimate truths of the highest stage of realization. You should not use these statements in everyday life with everyday sense, but you should understand these are the sublime nectar of what a seer has understood and wants to convey us of the truth in the Veda. First, Mahavakya. Maha means grand, Vakya means utterance, is Tattvam Asi. Tat you are. That means whatever you coin as that, this, he, she, it, etc., whatever is the content of it, the same content is in you, and hence you are that. That is what Tattvamasi means. This is from Samaveda, Chandogya Upanishad. Aham Brahmasmi. This is taken from Brahadaranyaka Upanishad of Yajurveda. The meaning is I am Brahman. That means here it doesn't mean in a personal sense like I am Tejaswi, I am Noor, etc. The I am. But whatever I am, you are pointing to whenever you are saying that I am. So that I amness is Brahman or the omnipresent God. That's what the statement means. Then you have Prajnanam Brahma. This is taken from Aitareya Upanishad of Rig Veda, which means Prajna or consciousness is Brahman. And finally, I am Atma Brahma. This is taken from Mandukya Upanishad of Atharvana Veda, which says this Atma, whatever you are calling this as soul, Atma, that, this, etc., this is nothing but that which is Brahman. Therefore, these four statements, which always point to Brahman, the Jiva or the soul Atma, and the prajna, the consciousness, are taken as the ultimate statements which are nowhere available in the whole world literature. For understanding Upanishads and their subtlety and their fineness, we could go into Taittiriya Upanishad as an example, and we'll see what this Taittiriya Upanishad is trying to convey. This is just like one small Upanishad, one small tiny part. I'm taking an example, but to explore all other Upanishads and all lies upon you. Usually, as I have stated, Upanishads provide deep spiritual insights into fundamental aspects of life. They serve as fountainhead of knowledge and wisdom for us to lead a successful and happy life. So here we are taking two parts, Sikshavalli and Bhriguvalli of the Upanishad. Basically one message that is being given by a teacher to the graduating students. Basically, this is like a convocation address, when you're having your convocation after 4 years, a chief guest and your teachers will address you. They'll tell good, bad, that there's motivation, etc. We'll see what the Vedic teacher is trying to convey to his disciples or her disciples when they are graduating. And the second example we'll be taking is a conversation between sage Bhrigu and his father Varuna. The first, having taught the Vedas, the teacher instructs the pupil. There is the whole Sanskrit verse there, Veda Manuchaya, etc., etc. We won't spend time in reading that for now because we are towards the end. What the essence of it is, speak the truth, practice the dharma. That means follow what is learned until now. Do not neglect the study of the Vedas. So continue the learning process throughout your life. Don't think I have learned away stuff. Your exam-oriented mind right now will suggest you, yes, I have done away with the thing. But that shouldn't be there, is what is the proclamation of the Vedics here, or the teacher. Having brought to the teacher the gift he deserves, because in olden days, they don't pay and study. They study and then they pay. Because the payment is of free will. The guru doesn't ask. Therefore, but education is given to everyone, whoever deserves it after a particular test. Unlike the modern day world of education where you pay and then we get the education. It is complete contrast to the olden, our original thought process. Enter the householder's life and see that the line of progeny is not cut off. So marry and prosper. Nowhere in the Vedas or Upanishads you will see a sage asking you to run away to forest by not marrying and become a monk. But if you do so, you will have 1,000-fold responsibility to correct the society, which there are, of course, the options. But on majority, for a major mindset, it is always proclaimed to grow, marry, prosper, and transfer the wisdom and live an ethical life. Do not swerve from the truth. Do not swerve from dharma. Do not be tempted by the evil forces in life. That's the message. Do not neglect personal welfare. Do not neglect prosperity. In the name of service, do not neglect yourself. In the name of helping the other person, do not deteriorate your own health. Most of modern day, some orientations, they deteriorate their own health in the name of service, but that should not be the case, because if your health is good, you can serve 10-fold, 1,000-fold, 10,000-fold better. Do not neglect the study and the teachings of the Vedas. So whatever you learned, you should always try to apply it without neglecting its instructions and warnings. At another place, they say, do not neglect your duties to the gods and means. That means practice the mundane as well as spiritual, both the things. Do not ignore any of the things. Treat your mother as God. These statements I love a lot. Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atidhi Devo Bhava. These are the proclamations of Taittiriya Upanishad. We have learned this from our childhood, but we never know where they come from. Now you know that they come from the Taittiriya Upanishad. So the seers are trying to say, first learn to respect your parents in your family. Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. Then start respecting your teacher a little bit into society. Then start respecting Atidhi. Atidhi means a person who comes without any tidhi or intimation to your house. Don't just close the door or slam the door on his face or her face. Invite them, offer something, then let them take rest. These were the principles in olden days. Of course, in the modern world, things have to be a little bit cautionarily practiced because of the dharma being at its lowest state right now in the Kali Yuga, as they coin the terms. Treat your teacher as God, treat your guest as God. Whatever deeds are faultless, these are to be performed, not others. Basically, they are saying that in whatever the teacher is doing, when you look at a teacher, most of us, we often say, well, see, he has a very great watch, so I will also have a great watch. See, that teacher smokes, so let me also smoke. So these are the things we should not imbibe from the others. That is what a Vedic seer is saying. A Vedic seer is saying that, well, look, buddies, we have good and bad in us. We are not completely good. No one in this world is completely good. But if you want to be completely good, or at least orient towards it, because the relative goodness should be abundance in you, then do not take those that should not be followed in us, but only take those that should be followed in us. That's all. So take good in everything, take good from us. You will always be good, because we are also trying to get good by looking the same from our preceptors. What our good works have been performed by us, those should be performed by you and not the others. So these are some very beautiful statements which no modern teacher would be able to say to you, because mostly pride dominates, and they would say, like, we are all perfect, but none of us are perfect. And the Vedic seer has the mentality to say that upfront to a student and ask them to take only the good in them, which is one of the beautiful sublime message that can be given when you're graduating from a school. About this enlightening conversation, we will discuss in the next class. From here on, I will continue. Okay. I'll stop the lectures there and we can take some questions. Many videos are there. Kuppanagari, Mahendra, Aniket, Pratap Singh. Please switch off your video. Good. Now questions, please. Questions. Anyone? Any comments, questions? Niyogi sir, looking forward for your wonderful questions and comments. Hello.
In Upanishads,
Sir.
in Upanishads, we listen to many stories, isn't it?
Yes.
So when can we hear some stories?
So you want to hear the stories of the Upanishads?
Yes, yes.
Very good.
Yes.
The story that I just stopped is one story of the conversation, which I will take up in the next class. But if you want more stories, I can incorporate little more stories and come. Even I would like to present them, which would be interesting. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But the stories encompass some truth, and it is always message oriented.
Yes.
Especially the Kathopanishad is one beautiful story of Nachiketa and Yama conversation. The story right now that I stopped is about Bhrigu and Varuna conversation about the ultimate reality of creation. I thought with a fresh thought, we can start that story in the next class. Okay, I'll introduce 3 more stories in the next class and then I'll continue. Thanks for the suggestion.